Welcome everyone! One of the best ways to prepare for the IELTS speaking test is to see it in action. That's exactly what we're doing today with this complete mock test from Spinta. As you listen, think about what the candidate does well and where they could improve. Afterwards, we'll compare notes with a full performance breakdown. Let's begin. Good afternoon. My name is Ms. Brooks. Can you tell me your full name, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Carter. You can call me Daniel. I am pleased to be here today, and I hope I can show clearly my speaking ability.
Thank you. Where are you from, Daniel?
I am originally from a medium-sized town near Manchester in the north of England, but for the last 8 years I have lived in London for work and study. It is quite different to my hometown. The pace is faster, and there is much more cultural variety.
Let's talk about your home and family. Do you live with your family now?
No. Currently, I live alone in a small flat close to my office. My parents still live in the town where I grew up, and my younger sister studies at university. We try to meet up at least once a month for a family dinner, which I always look forward to, because it feels grounding after a busy week in the city.
How often do you see your family, and why is that?
Because of work commitments, I cannot go every weekend, but I visit them most months. We usually plan around special occasions, or when my sister has a break from university. Also, sometimes they visit me here and we go to a theater or a restaurant. These visits are important, because family provides emotional support and reminds me of where I came from.
Has the way your family spend time together changed over time?
Yes, quite a bit. When I was a child, we spent evenings watching television together or doing activities at home. As we grew older, our time together became more about experiences like meals out, trips, and conversations. Technology changed things too. Now video calls help us stay in touch more often, even when we cannot meet in person.
Now let's move on to your work or studies. Are you working or studying at the moment?
I am working full-time as a product manager at a tech company. My role involves coordinating between engineering teams, designers, and marketing to ensure products launch smoothly. It is demanding, but I enjoy the strategic side and the problem-solving that comes with prioritizing features and understanding user needs.
Why did you choose this kind of work?
Originally, I studied economics, and I was attracted to roles that combine analytical thinking with creativity. Product management felt like the perfect fit because it requires both understanding data and building something useful for people. Also, I appreciate that the job often involves learning about different industries, which keeps it intellectually stimulating.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
The most rewarding part is seeing an idea progress from concept to something real that people use and appreciate. When a product feature actually solves a problem for users and metrics improve, there is a real sense of accomplishment. I also enjoy mentoring junior team members and helping them develop their skills.
Do you expect your career to change in the next 5 years?
Yes, I expect it will evolve. I hope to take on broader responsibilities, perhaps moving into a director level where I can influence strategy across multiple products. I am also interested in working abroad for a period to experience different markets and management cultures, which I think would enrich my perspective.
Now let's talk about hobbies. What do you like to do in your free time?
In my free time, I enjoy photography, running, and reading. Photography allows me to slow down and observe details I might otherwise miss. Running keeps me fit and clears my head, and reading widens my horizons. I try to balance active hobbies with more reflective ones so I stay both physically and mentally healthy.
How long have you been interested in photography, and what draws you to it?
I've been serious about photography for about 6 years. At first, it was just a way to capture holiday memories, but over time I became fascinated by composition, light, and the storytelling aspect of images. I enjoy urban photography most because cities have constant change and unexpected moments to capture.
Can you give an example of a photograph you're proud of, and why?
Once I took a photograph of a small market at dawn when the light was very soft and a vendor was arranging fruit. The composition came together with a passerby reflected in a storefront, and the mood felt intimate. That image won a local competition, but more importantly, it reminds me of patience and the value of being at the right place at the right time to notice something ordinary made beautiful.
Tell me about your daily routine. Has it changed since you moved to the city?
Yes, moving to the city fastened the pace of my daily routine. I now start earlier to avoid peak commuting, and my evenings are often planned around networking or cultural events. However, I try to maintain consistent habits like reading before bed and a morning run on most days to preserve a sense of rhythm and well-being.
What part of your daily routine do you value most, and why?
I value my morning run most because it sets a positive tone for the day. It helps me think clearly and manage stress. The physical activity sharpens my focus and often sparks new ideas for work or creative projects. Even on busy days, I make time for it because the benefits are cumulative and noticeable.
Finally, in part 1, what are your plans for the future in general?
In general, I aim to continue developing professionally, to travel more, and to build a balanced life where work, relationships, and hobbies can coexist. I also want to contribute more to my community through volunteering and mentoring. Long term, I hope to have the flexibility to pursue personal projects alongside a fulfilling career.
Thank you. Now we will move on to part 2. Here is your topic card. You have 1 minute to prepare and you can make some notes. Speak for 2 to 3 minutes when you are ready. Describe a memorable trip you have taken. You should say where you went, who you went with, what you did, and explain why it was memorable.
Thank you. One memorable trip I took was to the Faroe Islands 2 summers ago with 2 close friends from university. We planned the trip to escape the city and to experience dramatic landscapes we had seen in photographs. Over the course of 10 days, we rented a small car and explored islands connected by tunnels and ferries. We hiked along steep cliffs, visited tiny villages with grass roofs, and photographed waterfalls and seabird colonies. The weather was changeable, which made the landscapes even more striking. One moment the sun would illuminate a fjord, and the next a mist would roll in, creating a very cinematic scene. We also met friendly locals who recommended hidden trails and small cafes, where we tried local dishes like fermented lamb and skirpikjot, which was new to us. I remember one evening when we watched the midnight sun from a clifftop with a thermos of coffee, talking about our plans and dreams. It felt profoundly liberating and simple at the same time. The trip was memorable because it combined friendship, adventure, and a reminder of how small we are compared to nature. It also influenced my photography deeply because I learned to anticipate changing light and to be patient when waiting for the right moment to take a picture. Overall, it was an experience that reshaped my appreciation for remote places and for traveling in a way that is respectful and curious.
Who organized most of the trip and how did you prepare?
We organized it together, but one friend took lead on logistics, booking accommodation and routes, while I researched photographic spots and local customs. We prepared by reading travel blogs, checking ferry timetables, and packing layers suitable for unpredictable weather. We also learned a few phrases in Faroese to show respect to locals and to make simple purchases easier.
Right. Did anything go wrong during the trip?
Yes, one day our car battery failed in a remote valley, which was stressful at first, but Locals stopped to help, and we ended up spending an unexpected afternoon in a family home drinking tea and hearing stories. In hindsight, that hiccup became one of the trip's highlights because it led to a genuine cultural exchange and reminded us of human kindness in unfamiliar places.
Interesting, thank you. Now part 3. I'd like to discuss travel and tourism in more depth. Why do you think people like to travel to remote or unusual places?
I think people are drawn to remote places for several reasons. Firstly, there is an appetite for authenticity and the novelty of encountering landscapes or cultures different from their own. Secondly, remote travel can be a form of personal challenge and self-discovery. Removing oneself from familiar comforts often stimulates reflection and growth. Lastly, in an era of social media, some people seek distinctive experiences that are visually striking. However, that can be a double-edged sword, because the desire for unique images sometimes encourages unsustainable behavior in fragile environments.
How can tourism affect local communities positively and negatively?
Positively, tourism can generate income, create jobs, and fund infrastructure like roads and healthcare. It can also foster cultural exchange and preserve traditions when managed thoughtfully. Negatively, mass tourism can strain local resources, inflate prices for residents, and lead to cultural commodification where traditions are altered to suit tourists' expectations. In fragile ecosystems, too many visitors can damage habitats and reduce biodiversity.
What measures can governments or businesses take to make tourism more sustainable?
Governments can implement measures like visitor caps in sensitive areas, invest in eco-friendly infrastructure, and develop regulations that protect natural and cultural heritage. Businesses can offer responsible tour options, educate tourists about local norms, and invest in conservation projects. Additionally, promoting off-season tourism and dispersing tourists across regions can reduce pressure on hotspots.
Do you think traveling will become more or less common in the next 20 years?
I expect travel will remain common, but the nature of it may change. Climate concerns and economic factors might encourage longer, slower trips rather than frequent short flights. Technological advances may enable virtual experiences for some, but the desire to physically visit places and meet people will likely endure. The key will be balancing accessibility with environmental responsibility.
How do people's travel preferences differ between younger and older generations?
Younger travelers often prioritize experiences, adventure, and budget travel, sometimes trading comfort for authenticity. They may also be more open to volunteering or learning new skills abroad. Older travelers frequently value comfort, slower pacing, and cultural depth, preferring structured itineraries with quality accommodations. Of course, there is overlap and exceptions, but these trends reflect different life stages and priorities.
Some people say travel changes a person's values. Do you agree, and can you give an example?
I agree. Travel exposes people to different ways of life which can broaden perspectives and foster empathy. For example, after spending time in a community with limited resources, I became more conscious about consumption and waste. On a personal level, encountering varied cultures encouraged me to value minimalism and experiences over material possessions.
How important is technology when people travel these days?
Technology is very important. It helps with planning, navigation, and communication. Apps provide reviews, map routes, and language assistance, which can make travel safer and more accessible. However, over-reliance on screens can detract from being present, so I think it's about balancing convenience with mindful engagement with surroundings.
If you were responsible for promoting tourism in your country, what would you focus on?
I would prioritize sustainable tourism that highlights lesser-known regions to spread economic benefits and reduce congestion in major hotspots. I would also invest in quality visitor education, ensuring tourists understand local customs and ecological sensitivity. Additionally, promoting cultural festivals and local crafts would help preserve heritage while creating meaningful experiences for visitors.
Right. Finally, do you think it's better to travel alone or in a group, and why?
Both have merits. Solo travel fosters independence and deeper personal reflection, while group travel offers social support and shared memories. My preference depends on the purpose. For photography and introspection, I often travel alone, but for adventures or learning new skills, I enjoy going with friends as it enhances safety and social enjoyment.
Thank you very much. That is the end of the speaking test. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
The candidate demonstrated a Band 8 level performance. Specific errors included saying, "I have been lived here for 8 years," when the correct form is, "I have lived here for 8 years," and saying, "If I would have more time, I would volunteer more often," when the correct conditional is, "If I had more time, I would volunteer more often." There is also one small preposition slip saying, "I am very interested about photography," when it should be, "I am very interested in photography." These slips occurred only occasionally across the whole test and did not impair communication. Fluency was strong, with a smooth, natural flow, appropriate hesitation used to think or self-correct, and only brief pauses before more complex ideas. The candidate used a wide and precise range of vocabulary such as cultural commodification, visitor caps, eco-friendly infrastructure, and cinematic scene, generally accurate and appropriate for the topics discussed. Grammatically, the candidate showed control of complex structures, using relative clauses, conditionals, and participle phrases effectively. Weaknesses were limited to occasional slips in tense and conditional formation under spontaneous pressure. Pronunciation was clear with natural rhythm and stress, so meanings were easily understood. This score is justified because communication was coherent and detailed, with sophisticated vocabulary and minimal errors. What prevented a higher score were the few recurring slips in complex constructions and one or two minor preposition choices that reveal occasional lack of automaticity. To reach Band 9, the candidate would need near-perfect grammar and spontaneous speech, absolutely no recurring slips in complex conditionals, and slightly more precision in idiomatic usage under pressure. Strengths that strongly supported the Band 8 assessment included well-developed answers, effective organization of ideas, vivid examples from personal experience, and persuasive explanations of abstract issues such as sustainability and cultural impact. Thank you for practicing with this IELTS speaking mock test. Visit Spinta for more comprehensive mock tests and personalized feedback to boost your IELTS score.